Hey, what's going on? I'm Keith here at Sports Vibes TV, and today I'm joined by our NBA analyst, Stephen Fox. And today we got a bunch of topics to discuss with you guys. We're going to be talking about the Knicks and their Summer League performance. We're also going to get into the Donovan Mitchell trade rumors and also, try to get some value or some idea of what value those picks involved could have. And then we're also going to do a comparison if the deal doesn't go through. We're going to see what teams the Knicks could be compared to and what we can look for this team to do next season if we go and don't make a trade. So with that being said, I would like to introduce once again Stephen Fox. Foxy, how's everything with you?
All is good. Hope you and everybody in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area are keeping dry. It's been some brutal rainstorms here, but otherwise, shout out to you. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to the SV Nation. Can't wait to talk New York Knicks basketball.
Yep. Appreciate you joining me today. Like I said, we've got a bunch of things to talk about. Unfortunately, we do have to discuss Summer League. Now, the Knicks were in the championship game, so we do have to give them some kudos for that. They played well throughout the Summer League, but unfortunately, they weren't able to get over the hump that is the Portland Trailblazers Summer League roster. So we lost 85-77. Now, Foxy, anything that you saw that jumped out to you during that performance?
Obviously, Grimes. We were, impressive. We asked to see him put the ball on the floor and get to the hole, and besides just being a 3-point shooter, and he did that. So he showed that, and 22.6 points per game, 4 assists. We made some gorgeous assists, and you saw it in person. And so his defense is always there. So and it's also, folks, as you know. You don't have chemistry. You don't have many practices at all. So it's very difficult to look good in Summer League. So I was really glad that we saw some growth and his handle got better. So that, Sims, his electric athleticism, 11.6 points per game, 9 rebounds, 80% field goal percentage. Surprising to a lot of us, Farron Hunt, you and I talked on previous streams about his elite athleticism, but we saw 11.4 points per game, 4 rebounds, 2.4 steals, that 7-foot plus wingspan, very disruptive for steals. Needs to work on his shooting mechanics. He's like totally sideways when he goes up for his shooting, but hey, it's nice to have an athletic defensive specialist. We're not going to look for him for his offensive game, but it's nice to have a 6'8", 7-foot wingspan wing on this team other than Cam. And the last was Deuce. I was disappointed in Deuce, to be truthful with you. He got eaten alive by a guy named Brandon Williams, an undrafted kid out of Arizona from a year ago. He was okay, but his game is defense, and I didn't see him having that elite defense. And some of his numbers, I think, were bloated from a stats perspective at the end of the game, and a couple of things. So I thought he looked all right, but I don't know. I said a couple of years ago that I thought that he'd be a good role player. And I don't know whether he just looks slow. He can't get separation. And from a point guard perspective, he was dribbling into players and into coverage. And so I'm not closing the book on him, but I didn't think he helped himself like some of the other players. What about you? You saw it firsthand, my friend.
Yeah, I would have liked Deuce to show out a little bit more in Summer League, especially with the fact that we have guys on the trade block, and we would like to see what we have in Deuce, whether we're going to include him in a deal or potentially move on from somebody and be comfortable seeing Deuce step up into a larger role. So I would have liked to see him create a little bit more better for himself, even though there were some times where he was able to knock down some tough mid-range jump shots. But the thing is, you don't want him to have to rely on that. So the fact that he wasn't able to get to the basket as much as I would have liked was a little bit disappointing. But leading into that finals games against the Portland Trailblazers, I feel like the game in Orlando against Orlando, he was actually attacking the basket a little bit more. He did have a couple drives where he was able to finish, and I wanted to see some more of that. So to see him kind of struggle with the Portland Trailblazers, that did leave a negative view in my mind, but hopefully he'll be able to rebound next season. And if he's given a larger role, maybe we see him put a little bit more work this off season, trying to get some more dribble moves, some counters, and things like that to help break down defenders and make it easier for him to get to the basket. Now, you say he's slow. I would agree. He looks a little bit robotic in his movement, as if he's maybe thinking more so than reacting. So hopefully he can get a little bit more fluid out there on the court. With Quentin Grimes, I was extremely impressed with Quentin Grimes. I know he had a rough performance in the finals. The entire team did, but throughout the summer league, he showed an expansion of his game, something that we weren't entirely sure he would be able to do here at the next level. So he was able to create off the dribble. He was able to knock down some mid-range shots. He was able to get to the basket and finish. He showed some strength. He was able to drive and force defenders off of him in order to free himself in the paint. So that's something I definitely liked. I like the playmaking. When Quentin Grimes is out there, I don't see him being asked to do too much in the NBA, but the fact that he has that in his toolbox is a great skill to have, that he can create as maybe a tertiary playmaker out there on the court. So the fact that he can give you some defense, he can knock down the three, and he can also, create a little bit off the dribble. I think he gives you a lot of value, and it's going to give Tibbs a lot to think about when he starts to look at the starting lineup. Is he going to stick with an Evan Fournier, who we know he has deficiencies defensively, or are you going to take what you saw from Summer League and now give Quentin Grimes that opportunity to start? Because I think he would be a great fit in the starting lineup with a Jalen Brunson, RJ Barrett, and a Julius Randle, some players that are going to have the ball in their hands a lot.
And with you, and also him going left. We didn't see him going left a lot last year, so he's worked on that a whole lot. So yeah, and the only thing from an analyst standpoint, I wish he'd bend his knees a touch more when he shoots his foul shots. I think I grew up with Clyde Frazier, and as a kid in the yard emulating him. He doesn't bend. He's a little stiff on his foul. I bet if he bent his knees a little more on his foul shooting, he'd be a little better. So we want him to pick that up. But yeah, man, he's a dog. We love dogs, and he balled out. And getting just the last thing on McBride, when that guy Brandon Williams was lighting him up, I wanted to see him getting upset. Like, damn, this is showcase. I'm supposed to be showcasing. I wanted him to, like Donovan and Jamal Murray a couple of years ago. You score on me, I'm going to score on you. I didn't see that on him, or maybe you couldn't do it on him. Either way, but and also from winning the championship, but I would love them to win the championship. But that's not on the players as much as I think is the front office. We had second team guys versus a lot of guys going with first year rookies. But we had no second team, man. They didn't put together really a roster. The minute Grimes and those guys left, it was painful. Some of those guys, that what was it? Potter, number 20. I kept saying, who the hell is this number 20?
So I kind of like Potter. I'm not going for it. I kind of like Potter. He was able to grab some rebounds, some putbacks. I kind of like him.
Yeah, against guys that'll be playing in Europe in a year. So hey, we had a good summer league. It's positive, and let's bring that into preseason and go from there.
Yeah, it would have been nice to go home with the rings, but for the most part, we saw a lot of positives from our young guys, and that's what Summer League is really about. You want to see your guys start taking some steps, and we saw that. We already mentioned Deuce, we mentioned Grimes. I didn't touch on Jericho Sims. I liked a lot of what I saw from Jericho Sims. He kind of opened up the entire toolbox here in Summer League. He was able to bring the ball up the court and look comfortable doing it. There were times where I felt like he was doing a little bit too much, but he was comfortable handling the rock. And I think if he gets a little bit more practice, that might be something he'll be able to use when he's on the Knicks during the regular season. Also, his athleticism kind of jumps off the screen, especially in person. To see the heights that he's able to get to, I think it's just ridiculous. Because when you're watching from home, you're kind of you have an angled view down. So if you're on the bleachers, you're kind of sitting there at the same level as the athletes. So to see him take off, see how high he can get, and compare it to the other players out there on the court, I think it was really remarkable. So you got to be excited to see him do some more highlight plays at Madison Square Garden. And with Farron Hunt, I'm mixed reviews. I feel like he's an uber athlete, yeah, but I think he needs like a head start to kind of get that those ferocious jams and those ferocious finishes around the rim, because there were times where, if he didn't have that head start, he was getting blocked at the rim left, right, and center,
Last
especially.
game. Yeah.
Yeah. So, it'd be nice to have him on the roster, especially if we move on from Cam Reddish in a trade for Donovan Mitchell, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But he's definitely going to be a work in progress as well. Foxy, how'd you feel about the second round pick, Keels?
I hated the pick when we did it, and I hate it even more now. And people who checked out the draft show said, "Hey, there's a kid out of Colorado that I watched against Matherin and stuff. A kid named Jabari Walker, and so many guys. I mentioned Ryan Rollins. He injured his ankle, but for Golden State, there were a lot of players I would have taken over. He's slow. He has no hops." He's not athletic. He's not a great shooter. He's not a point guard. He's not a shooting guard. And he's 6'3" and change with a 6'7" wingspan. What the hell were they thinking? And he's 18 years old. I know I'm going to get hit. Hey man, he's 18. When he's 21, he ain't going to be a better athlete. He's going to jump higher at 21. Maybe he'll shoot better, but I don't know if they were hoping that he was going to be our version of Lou Dort. But we don't need a Lou Dort here. We need a 6'8", 7-foot wingspan guys here. We have enough 6'3", 6'4" guys to last us a lifetime. So I thought it was a terrible draft pick, and it was validated watching his play. And what about you? What was your thoughts on him?
I kind of glitched over here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I could hear you.
Okay, good, because you kind of blacked out on my end. So me, I wasn't a big fan of him. Like, seeing him in person, he was pretty slow. Didn't have any creativity off the dribble. The jump shot was highly inconsistent. So I'm interested in seeing what the front office is planning on doing with him, because you draft some guy in the second round, you would hope that they have a plan and goal in mind for the player they want Keels to become. So I'm going to give them an opportunity to work with him. They signed him to a very short
1 year G League deal,
2-way deal. So that to me says
a lot.
They're extremely confident in him being able to compete at the next level. So I'm going to give him some time, but first impressions, not really a big fan of what I saw here in Summer League.
Yeah. You want to say hi to our family?
Yep. Let's jump into the chat. We got Angel Torres. He's saying salute, amigos. Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Yeah. I believe he's from Puerto Rico, Angel.
Oh, yeah. Nice. D. Bird says, hey, salute my long lost friends. How's everything? Appreciate you tuning in.
Yeah, DBR, hope all is well. A nudie 25, yo! And the first lady, Lady G, Geraldine McGyver, hope all is well in North Carolina. We're getting hit up here, Geraldine. Hope you're nice and sunny down there in North Carolina.
Facts. Anudi says Keith was in all the pool parties. Facts. I went straight from the game. It was turning up right after.
Well, that's one of the first things
in Vegas.
Yeah, it was the first thing I said about Deuce when I was seeing him. I'm like, damn, I think he was at Sapphires last night.
I would not be shocked. I'm sure those guys are out there enjoying themselves when they're well, maybe not the guys actually performing in Summer League. You would hope that they're kind of chill. They'll wait until before or after to get crazy. But I wouldn't be shocked if they were out there turning up. Anudi 25 says Deuce was trash. Yeah, he definitely left a lot to be desired, to put it nicely. I would like to see him just become a better floor general out there. He did make some decent passes, but there were some times where I didn't like his decision making, and just I think the athleticism or lack thereof is going to be the biggest issue or the biggest thing holding him back from becoming a everyday contributor. Everyday contributor like this is baseball.
Hey, talking about baseball, we have Yankees Morning Brew. My friend Hector, your friend, Project Nerd HQ. Great show, 11 a.m. Monday through Friday. Do me a favor, please check him out. He must be happy after the Yankees beat the hell out of Boston and got ourselves another 6'7" guy in the draft. So if you haven't subscribed to Knights of Degen, do me a favor. Hector is one of the great guys. Great show on the Yankees. Do me a favor. Check him out.
D. Burr says Hunt could have used another year in college, but he meant Keels. Yeah, he definitely could have used some more seasoning.
Yeah.
Geraldine McGuire says Portland was the better team. Yeah, they beat us twice in summer league, and the final scores were pretty similar too, right? This one was we lost what 85-77, and I think the other one was 88-77.
Yeah, the first one was like you said 85-77, and the next one was and like you said 88-77 exactly.
Yeah,
So
they proved it.
And in the first game, we were beating the hell out of them. It was like 18-3 or something like that.
13 zip, wasn't it?
Yeah, something crazy. Yeah. 13 zip, and they came back and then did it again.
Yeah, I was partying. I think the issue with both games, I think, was the second quarter, which is almost like deja vu. It kind of brings us back to last year where our team struggled in either the second or the third.
Yo, Dice hanging out too much with Tommy boy.
Let's see what, like you said, Yankees Morning Brew. Thank you for tuning in. So let's just look at what the team did statistically before we start jumping into some other topics. We just want to put it on screen. So you can see Quentin Grimes, he led the team in points at 22.6, followed by Deuce at 16.8 points per game. Jericho Sims, he was averaging a double-double at one point, but the rebounds came down. So he's only averaged 9 rebounds per game, followed by Trevor Keels and Quentin Grimes with just over 4. The team leaders in assists was Deuce McBride at 5 assists per game. And then we see Quentin Grimes, he's second at 4 assists per game, but kind of speaks to the playmaking we saw from him. Jericho Sims, he was averaging 1.7 blocks, I believe, heading into the championship game, and now he ended it with 1.2 blocks per game. Steals, Farron Hunt, he was a problem picking people's pockets. He averages 2.4 steals per game. You also see Miles McBride. He showed up defensively, at least when it comes to, getting steals and deflections. He had 2.2 steals per game. And the the team leader in minutes per game is Quentin Grimes at 30.1, which is a great sign, especially knowing that, Grimes was dealing with a knee injury, and he was able to come to summer league, no brace, and he was able to play these amount of minutes, be physical, get a lot of contact out there, and have no ill signs of that knee pop up. So I think that's also a good sign for the Knicks moving forward.
Great sign. He went down in the last game. He tripped, and terrible reffing, by the way. But I was like, every time he was like, no, but I didn't see him grimace. Like you said, that knee looks solid, and thank the Lord.
Yeah, because he's going to be a big piece in Donovan Mitchell trade. It looks like he's the one that they're targeted.
Yeah, for sure.
John Talento pulled up. He says, salute SVTV crew. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate the support.
Hey, John, hope all is well with you and your family. John Talento, a legend in the New York Knicks fandom, especially Knicks fan TV extraordinaire.
Facts. So, Foxy, I want to ask you, man. I don't think we've talked about the Donovan Mitchell trade rumors on the stream yet. So I just wanted to know what your thoughts are. Do you think this is the time for the Knicks to go and make a move like that? Go out there and bring in a guy like a Donovan Mitchell and pay what it may cost in order to acquire him?
You and I are tight. We've always said the same thing for the last couple of years. It all depends on value. What you get him. I'm not a big lover of it personally. I'm not a big lover of it at all. I just don't think his style is conducive. I think he's going to have a radical impact on the rest of the team, and he's a one-dimensional player, Donovan. This is a weird stat, folks. So you're probably hearing it first here on SVTV, but in his career, Donovan Mitchell has never had a triple-double, and in his career, he's only had 7 double-doubles. And just to give you a feeling, IQ in just a couple of years has 4 double-doubles and 2 triple-doubles. And Randle, obviously, is a different thing. He had 31 last year, double-doubles. So it's just show he's a chucker extraordinaire. His assists to turnover ratio. So he's a chucker, and his usage rate is up there. So I think the impact that he'd have giving up the amount of resources we'd have to give up, I don't mind if we give up those type of resources for a top 10 player, but he's not a top 10 player. Just meaning if you have his usage, I know this is going to sound crazy. A guy like Cam Thomas would put up the same numbers as Donovan Mitchell. if you gave him the same amount of minutes and usage. There's guys in this league that are walking buckets. And I also look at, just doing this for a long time, he's like an all-star running back. He's had all this, 345 games. He's exciting, but running backs, they take a lot of hits. He gets to the line about 9 times a game. That's a lot of hits in 345. I get worried that little guys, we saw with AI and a few guys, little guys later in their career, they start breaking down. We've seen Connolly and all these guys that, so answer your question, even with, I would rather us this year, I think Donovan would have a major impact on RJ's development and the other guy's development. And I think it also would have a major impact if we have any hope in the world that we could resurrect Randle. I think Donovan would hurt it more than help it. And that's why I love Brunson so much. I think he's going to help RJ. I think he's going to help Randle. And I think his impact from a usage standpoint versus others, it's not going to be as, huge as Donovan changes everything. So I hope that they're just not going to go crazy and throw all these picks. I don't mind if they take guys, take the draft picks, the protected draft picks that we got from Charlotte and maybe the Dallas pick, but I would not give up one protected draft pick for him. I'd wait a year and, in a perfect world, I know this is going to sound crazy. What I would do is not go for Donovan, have Brunson, RJ, let's give Cam a shot. We made an investment, give Cam a shot. Hopefully Randle, we could resurrect him, and Mitch in that second team, whether it's D Rose and IQ or whether it's IQ, Grimes, Fournier, Obi and Hartenstein, go that way. And folks, the thing that I would look at is maybe next year's free agent class. Andrew Wiggins. He's a CAA client. He's tight with Rose. And you saw what he did on defense with Tatum in the playoffs and stuff. If we had Wiggins at 3 a year from now, have RJ at the 2 and have a lineup of Brunson, RJ, Wiggins, Randle, if he's still here, or Obi, and Mitch, I would definitely be down with that. I would definitely love Wiggins on this team more than I'd like Donovan Mitchell on this team. And we don't have to give up, we only have to clear up space and stuff like that with monies.
I hear you on that, Foxy. Initially, I was going up after a Donovan Mitchell, but that was when I thought we were gonna have to include RJ Barrett in the deal. But now there's reports circulating that we don't have to include RJ, that they'd be fine with a package that's kind of built around a Quentin Grimes. So now it changes my thought process. Can I develop a solid team with a Donovan Mitchell and RJ Barrett as that nucleus? And I think I can. Like me, ideally, I want RJ Barrett to be played more at the 2. But if you're going to force RJ into that 3 spot, I'd be perfectly fine to do it with a player because of a player like Donovan Mitchell. So if we can go out there and bring him in for a package of Quentin Grimes, Obi Toppin, I know everybody loves Obi, but if this team is going to continue to build this team with Julius Randle in mind, then there's not going to be space for Obi Toppin. So if I can flip Obi Toppin, a solid role player in Quentin Grimes, and maybe some trade filler like an Evan Fournier, get off of that contract, and then maybe add some picks with it as well. I think we have 4 of our own picks, and then we also have 4 picks from other teams that we can include in the deal, totaling 8 first rounders. Then I would try to pair maybe 3 to 4 first round picks with that package to see if it'll get done. Because if you look at the team last year, we went out with a starting backcourt of Kemba Walker and Evan Fournier. And, I know a lot of people have issues with the defensive pairing of a Jalen Brunson and a Donovan Mitchell, but I think those two are definitely an upgrade defensively for over a Kemba and Evan Fournier. And I think offensively, they're also an upgrade as well. And in a trade for a Donovan Mitchell, I probably wouldn't, I don't want to include Fournier, Grimes, and Emmanuel Quickly, because now we have a team that doesn't have any shooting in place. So if we can keep Emmanuel Quickly if we can bring in Donovan Mitchell, have a starting lineup of Jalen Brunson, we have Donovan Mitchell at the 2, RJ at the 3, Julius Randle at the 4, and then Mitchell Robinson at the 5. I think you have a team that's pretty competitive, especially in the East. Now, they're not going to be a championship contending team right away, but then I don't believe the Knicks are one move away from being championship contenders regardless of who we get. So if we can bring in a guy like Donovan Mitchell, continue to build upon that, that positive outlook that we had 2 years ago, then maybe this is a little bit more of an attractive destination next year after we start to show that this team can click and drive together. So if you have that type of nucleus with Jalen Brunson, Donovan Mitchell, RJ Barrett, they're all young. All of them are under 26 years old. RJ Barrett is not even 22 yet. So I think you can still grow, you can still add pieces and build with that nucleus intact. So me, I would be perfectly fine with a Donovan Mitchell trade. And not only that, next season, maybe there's some additional tinkering that this front office can do in order to get us better and get us closer to being a championship contender. Because last year, one of the biggest issues with the Knicks was finding somebody that can get you a bucket. And now we can kind of check that off the mark if we bring in a guy like a Donovan Mitchell, who's shown he can be clutch, who's shown he can score in the playoffs, and who's shown he can lead a team, maybe not to that promised land, but he can lead a team up to the playoffs. And if we're going to be in the playoffs regularly, then I'm a little bit more comfortable giving up an unprotected pick or two, because we'll talk a little bit later. If we're going to be continuously in the playoffs year after year, then those picks are going to be in, outside of the lottery. So those are going to be later picks that I would be a little bit more open to throwing into a deal.
Yeah. Are you concerned that we have Mitch tied up for 60? We have Julius tied up for 119. We have Brunson tied up for 104. If we do RJ, and I'm sure we will, is there monies left for us to get another key piece?
Well, hopefully next season, Julius Randle can go on his rehab tour, and then we can flip him and free up that 23, 26, 23, what is it, 26 mil he's making, I believe?
Something like that, yeah.
Right in that ballpark. So, yeah, hopefully he can, get back on track. We're bringing in pieces around him to make his life easier. So the game should come a lot easier to him next season. He shouldn't be doing too much with the basketball, turning the ball over. I would hope he'd be more efficient. We're bringing in players that can help, space the floor out a little bit better for him. So hopefully he'll be able to turn things around and we can get some value for him and free up that type of money and use it on an RJ extension. Hopefully Cam can step up and we give him a little bit of some of that money as well.
You think Randle would, how do you think Randle would deal with having 5 to 7 less touches a game?
He's going to have to live with it. Honestly, did he do anything last year that would warrant him to get an increase in production or a decrease in production?
I'm with you.
Got to be realistic with the guy.
Yeah, I'm just trying to keep him not going south with his attitude and him not getting the ball like he used to when he was the number one option on a bad team. Now that you got Brunson and you have Donovan, if he comes, and RJ, getting better in his, God willing, in his 4th year. So Donovan be number 1, RJ be number 2. Is Randle a 3rd or 4th option with Brunson? He just seems so sensitive. I don't know how he'd take it.
Yeah, I mean, with the psyche, you don't know how he'd take it.
That's my point. Yeah.
Julius Randle as with his skill set as a 4th option. That's a pretty dangerous team.
Yeah, it's never been a question about his skills. It's been about the neck up. And we always talked about he's 20-10-5, in writing, and you can put it in stone, man, every night. It's just whether he's going to be the 20-10-5-3 or he's going to be the 20-10-5 or 7 turnovers. So, and hopefully Brunson and a few others will keep that down.
He shouldn't even have 3 turnovers. The ball should be in Brunson, Mitch, and RJ's hands for the most part. 1.5. How about that?
Yeah, I'm with you, but I think the point is, if that happens, will he be happy at 15, 10, and 2 or 3? Because he won't be scoring 20 if he's not touching the ball, and if he's a 3rd or 4th option.
I hear you on that. John says Foxy wants a high lottery pick. I'm not mad at that. So you prefer, continuing to build, go through the rebuilding process? Because to me, honestly, I don't think this front office has done gone through a legitimate rebuilding process. It seems like every time somebody's been available, they kind of rip the plans up and then build out a new blueprint. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Hey, John, the problem is I want a high draft pick, but we wouldn't get it. We've been in purgatory. And that's why at 11, I was like, take Terry Eason, take Terry Eason. God, please take Terry Eason this year. And they didn't. So I don't consider 11 a high draft pick. That's why for a while I was saying on shows, I want Ben Mathurin in the worst way. Can you please get in the 5 or 7 range? That's where you're literally, folks, the percentage wise, it's crazy. Once you get past a certain number, your chances of getting an all-star are minute. So, so I'd love a high, but we're in purgatory. We have too good. So you only get a high lottery pick, as you know, John, if you're terrible, and we're not going to be terrible.
even
But
without the Mitchell trade,
without the Mitchell trade,
we wouldn't get a
exactly.
high lottery pick.
Yeah, I'm thinking, when I was doing my projections and stuff like that, I think we could win without Mitchell 45 games. And that's not terrible at all. But it gets back to John's point. Then all of a sudden you're in 11 to, you're probably going to be in the 12 to 19 range. And those are role players, and stats back that up.
And I like the fact that you brought up the mid first round picks that, in the back end of the lottery, because you did share this with me, this graph. Let's put it up on screen. And let's get the comment out the way. So here in this graph, you'll be able to see how likely each draft pick is to become an all-star. So to the left, you've got the first overall pick, and all the way towards the right, it doesn't really give you the 30th pick. I guess maybe no 30th selection has ever become an all-star. Only gives you up to 29. But as you can see, there's big drop-off from about the first to maybe the 5th pick. After that, it's a crapshoot, and the odds are more likely that you're not going to find an all-star. Now, there are some situations where you have players that were selected in later on in the first round that have become, but those guys are not the rule. You know what I mean?
People are always bringing up, Joker and stuff like that. To just keep it real, folks, in the history of the NBA, only 22 players selected in the second round have ever made it to the All-Star game. So what Keith was saying is, if you're picked number 1, you have a 63% chance of making the All-Star team. But if you're in the 11th, second, if you pick second, it's 40%. But once you get past 10, it gets down to the 13% or 10%. So that's why, whether it's Donovan Mitchell giving up things, if we're going to be a team that's picking 11 or 12, the guys that we're picking statistically, I won't say the 10%, let's say 90% chance that they'll never be an all-star. So if you get the chance to get an all-star, you can understand why it would make sense, because that's why I was so vehement about us getting, or using things to move up, because the numbers prove it out that, it's just a very slight chance that guy is, they're going to be role players. They're never going to be a top tier player. And that's why I have no problem giving it up, but I don't necessarily personally don't think, Mitchell's the one I'd give it up for, but if they did, I wouldn't lose sleep over it. But it just shows from a fickle standpoint why people in the top 4 or 5 picks, number 1 is 63% chance to be an all-star, 2 is 40%, 3 is 56%, and then 33% at 4, 30%, and then boo, it just drops off, man. And that's why that nobody loves the draft as much as me, or a lot do, but you know how much I love it and how much I study it. It's just very difficult for you to get a quality player late in the draft that'll ever be an elite player. They could be a fine, valuable player, but not an all-star player. It's 2 different things.
Yeah, this graph is also going to speak to why I'm willing to include, the picks, because even if we don't go and get a Donovan Mitchell, I don't see us getting a high lottery pick. The NBA, they're not going to do us any favors. So if we're going to be one of those teams where we're right around, the 6th to 8th seed, I'm perfectly fine with us taking a shot, bringing in an elite scorer like a Donovan Mitchell, knowing that as currently constituted, we aren't going to be bad enough to find somebody at his level in the draft. So for me, it just further pushes me into the camp where I say this is the time to make a move. As long as we're doing a deal within reason, we can't go out there and get crazy and try to give up too many of our young players. To me, it's going to be two young players, some salary filler, and then some draft picks. I don't think we should go and try to give up three of our young guys or four of our young guys just to bring in a Donovan Mitchell. I don't think he's that type of a difference maker for us to go in and completely empty out the resources we have, or the draft capital that we have with this team now. So me personally, I'm fine with a Donovan Mitchell deal. I just can't look at the deal and say, "Oh wow, we got robbed."
Yeah, we're tight. We're together. As long as we don't give up the core, I'm down for the trade. And as we just went over the stats, folks, from the draft picks, unless we're in the top five, we're not. We're not gonna. So let's get an all-star. Finally, get an all-star here. But the big thing, folks, is now we have two closers. Meaning Brunson's a closer, Mitchell's a closer. Take the pressure off RJ and Randall and whoever our three is, whether it's a Cam or Fournier or whomever it may be. Or it looks like if Mitchell comes, then RJ will be our three. But it would change everything, absolutely. And it'd be the best team with Donovan that we've had in a long time. My thing is, I'm always looking about the chip. So we'll have a really, really good team compared to what we've been used to around here. I just don't know. I just don't think it's championship quality that he can. It'll be a championship caliber team. I think it'll be a playoff team, but that next level. But who knows? Injuries and other things, crazy things have happened, and maybe we'll look out for once in a million years. Our beloved Knicks could do something dangerous.
Yeah, well, maybe I'm giving a little bit too much faith to the front office, hoping that if they do go and make a Donovan Mitchell trade, it won't stop there, that they'll continue to make changes with this roster, see what fits, see what doesn't. And, we're all going to say it. The first thing that needs to be done is finding a perfect home for a Julius Randle. And if we're going to do that, maybe that'll free up a little bit of more playing time for some of the younger guys. Obi won't be here if we do a trade like that, but maybe a guy like iHeart can then step in a little bit and play some more minutes. He has some ability to stretch the court. He can give you some rim protection, so he'll probably be an option too to help you if you have a little bit of reservations about a Jalen Brunson and a Donovan Mitchell backcourt.
Yeah, I'm not really. I think a lot of people put it, but hey, you look back a couple of years ago, were you concerned about a Lowry, Van Vliet backcourt? They went a long way and they were dogs and they were tough as hell. So as long as they have, and Brunson is Villanova, fine. As everybody knows, I love Villanova, bred guys. And, Donovan is uber competitive and with his athleticism. So I'm not really worried about that as much as some other people.
Yeah, to me, you hit the nail on the head with Fred Van Vliet and with Kyle Lowry. I think you look at those two guards, they were somewhat undersized, but they were paired with an elite wing in a Kawhi. So now if we're gonna be putting RJ out there at the three, he's gonna have to take that next step. So if he's able to take that next step, the potential of this team is going to shoot through the roof, because now you have RJ who could potentially be entering, stardom. We hope you have Donovan Mitchell, who's a borderline All NBA talent. This is going to be a squad that other players around the league may look and say, okay, that looks like something I want to be a part of. So hopefully, we can continue to move in the right direction. This team can gel, play some solid basketball, get back to our winning ways that we saw 2 years ago, and it'll give the front office some more options to add talent to this team.
I really think, folks, two ways. Without Donovan, there's a whole lot of hope for this team. And with Donovan, there's a whole lot more hope. But if we don't get Donovan, we could still be a very dangerous team.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Foxy. And speaking of this team being a potentially dangerous team, we do have a topic that we want to pivot to next. talking about this team if we don't make the trade. But before we get into it, I just want to jump into the chat, see what you guys are chopping it up about. Give you guys a quick shout out. We've got Citizen X. He's in the chat. He's giving a shout out to
Yo,
John. Willie
X-Man.
Willie Cruz. He's saying salute. We got our guy Canal. He's in chat as well. He's saying salute.
Justin L. Hope all is well with you. And JJ, Justin Jr., and the family. Everyone, do me a favor. Please reach out to Justin. He just had a little boy. So Justin had a little boy, and our guy, Adele Chapman, had a little princess, Avery, a little girl. So do me a favor, reach out to Justin. He's been such a good friend and a supporter, and he's just a great guy, knows his hoops, man. So good to see you, Justin. I missed you, my friend.
Yep. Congrats to you guys on the bringing in new life into this world.
What do you mean? We had JJ Redick at Duke. Now we have a new JJ in 18 years at Kentucky. So Justin, yo, we're ready for you.
Yeah, we'll feature him here on the channel.
Got
B.
that right.
Bird says, smash that like button. Foxy, I sent this to you before we actually came online. It threw me through a loop. It says Mark Stein said if we trade for Mitch, we're gonna trade Randle for Brickbrook so we can have cap space next summer. Y'all didn't see the news. Yeah, we saw the news, but we didn't want to get to it at this portion of the show. But we'll discuss it a little bit now. Foxy, how do you feel about flipping Randle for Brickbrook?
Love it. I love it. Won't have 3 years of that contract. And Westbrook, like I said, I'd pull a wall, do it, but I wouldn't actually play him. Or, if he wants to sit on the bench, fine, but I wouldn't play him. But I'd love to get rid of Randall's contract. And if we still have Obi, slide him there. If we drafted Terry, we'd be all set. But yeah, I have no problem with us getting rid of Randall. And if that does happen, then we do have money to go after a guy like Andrew Wiggins.
I mean, I'd have a little bit of a problem with it, knowing that we're not going to play Russ. We'd probably buy him out the same way the Rockets did when they bought out John Wall to begin the offseason. But it would just be crazy to look at Julius Randle and see what he did 2 seasons ago. And now we would have to give him up and just get Russell Westbrook back in return. To me, I think that's a hell of a fall from grace, and it kind of upsets me as a Knicks fan seeing what the Pacers were able to get for Sabonis. And I sit here sometimes and I feel like the Pacers have our team, the team we should have had. We should have had Halliburton, we should have had Duarte. We probably should have been in a position to get Mathurin. And to see all of them now fall to the Pacers, and that's a team we're gonna have to deal with. It would be upsetting knowing it's all because Julius Randle took that step back. So
now you got me all depressed. I got to call I'm going to have to call my friends Johnny Walker and Jack Daniels later and party with them. So yeah, but you're 100% right, man. Indiana has a frightening team, and they were this close to getting Ayton.
Yeah, they almost got Ayton. Oh man, I saw that news. I was like, "What is going on here? We're gonna have to deal with it." That's a nice young squad if they would have.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
I sent JD and George a text. I said, "Yo, if they keep Ayton, man, that's gonna be my team in 2K. I'll tell you that right now."
Exactly.
Lex the Destroyer saying maybe we should explore a 3-team.
Froze up there, brother.
Was a report that if the Knicks do include RJ in a deal, it wouldn't be sent to Utah. It would be sent to a third team in order to get more assets for the Jazz. So I'm a little skeptical about 3-team trades, because then I start to get a little nervous that RJ might be included in the deal if the Knicks feel like they're getting a nice enough return back.
Yep. Bodega Wi-Fi, shout out. I see him.
Thank you for pulling up. Let's see. Justin L is in the building. It says salute to Keith, the host with the most, my brother Stephen Fox, New York's finest, and to the Blue Wrenches and the greatest fans in the world. Salute. Thank you, Justin. Appreciate you. John said the same thing as well, talking about the Spider trade. I mean, not the Spider trade, the Randle for Westbrook trade. I just don't understand how that's all we can get for Julius Randle.
It's because I think everyone's not focused on the 2010-5. They're focused on the STFU and the thumbs down and smacking a computer and sulking and all the other things that that's derogatory or detrimental to a team. So I think, they're worried about the cancerous effects, not necessarily the stats.
Yeah. JJ47K says Mitchell probably want to play with quickly. They have been, chilling with each other all over New York and Connecticut throughout the offseason.
Hey,
I
did you see
guess.
him swinging the bat, man?
Oh, what against at the in
The
Brooklyn?
Brooklyn Cyclones? Yo, man, he can swing the bat nice. He's a lefty. But I've seen some guys throw out first pitches and other things, and you're like, I'm glad you play basketball because you look awkward as hell. But he didn't look awkward, man. But he's also 6'3", so he's not, an overly huge dude. But yeah. So he's doing the tour, man. So saying, hey, if I come here, I'm already laying the groundwork for people to love me. He's a Greenwich boy.
Navy Blue 76 says RJ has always said he wants to become that two-way type of player. Let's see if he takes the next step. I mean, I hope so. He said it last season, and he was a little bit inconsistent on defense. So hopefully he can be a little bit more consistent defending and a little bit better finishing around the rim as well. He's starting to get a little bit better, a little bit more consistent with his outside shot. Now let's see if he can work on finishing and also building out that midi and stepping it up on defense just a little bit more.
Yeah.
Five says, what two players you traded? I'm guessing that's for the Donovan Mitchell trade. When it comes to young players, I'm looking at Quentin Grimes, who is being reported the Jazz are really interested in, and most likely Obi, because right now we don't really have a space for Obi. So if we can flip Obi for an elite scorer and a player like Donovan Mitchell, that's something I'd sign up for.
Makes two of us, we love his dunks and we love his energy, but we still have to be realistic that he shot 30% from mid-range and 30% from three. I think he'll build on this year, and he finished the season strong. But let's, it's like you want to sell him while he's high, and if he's attractive to Utah, along with Grimes and those draft picks to get an elite player like Donovan, I'm down.
Yeah. So Foxy, a little bit earlier, I had mentioned that this team. Well, you had mentioned it too, that this team still has some solid pieces, even if we don't go through with a Donovan
Very
Mitchell
solid
trade,
pieces.
right? So let's look at the team in its entirety just to see what we have going on. So we've got a few new additions, being Jalen Brunson, iHeart, Keels as a draft pick, and Voltage is gone now. God bless him.
But he's not forgotten.
Yeah, gone but not forgotten. Yeah, he's still close enough. So looking at the team, if you were to look at another team in the NBA and you wanted to kind of emulate their success, what would be a team that Knicks fans can kind of look towards to see or to get a better idea of what this team could be if we, buy into the system, if Tibbs plays the right players, uses his full arsenal of talent, what is a team that this team can kind of emulate or look like out there on the court?
Without a doubt, the Memphis Grizzlies. Obviously they have an elite player with Ja, but the whole thing is they were 21-6 last year without Ja, with Tyus Jones. So, and they were a scary team in the playoffs because of the way they played. Obviously, they have a very good coach. They were well coached, but like you said, they were dogs. They were dogs. So, what we're showing here, folks, is there's been some changes. Melton and Anderson, a couple guys moved on, but we just wanted to show last year that they were 21-6. So with a starting backcourt of Jones and Bain and Brooks and Jackson and Adams, and then you see the second team and then you see the bench. So, if we go to the, compare our team on the next slide to their team, you take a step back, folks. So let's look at a team that went 21-6 without Ja. You got Jones and Jalen. I'm taking Jalen. You have RJ and Bain. That's Bain may be a better shooter, but RJ, that's a toss up. Brooks and Cam. Brooks is happening. If Cam can realize his potential, Randle, Jackson, Mitch. I'll take Mitch over Adams. So all of a sudden you're like, whoa. And then on the second team, Melton, IQ, Williams, Zaire Williams, Grimes, Kyle Anderson's no longer, but last year, like I said, against Evan, Clark, Obi, Tillman, iHeart. Folks, They were a dangerous team, as you know, in the playoffs last year. We're there. So that's why I'm saying there's hope without Donovan. So it's a very similar thing. Like, wow, we could be a very, very good team, but if we add our version of Ja and Donovan, who's, you saw in the playoffs, that's a very, as Keith said, I think there's a whole lot of similarity, and I think there's a whole lot of hope for the New York Knicks this season.
Yeah, I think one thing that really sticks out with the Grizzlies without John Morant. I was reading an article from The Athletic, and it was looked like Dylan Brooks was really the catalyst for a lot of the Grizzlies' success in John Morant's absence. So his defensive intensity and his ability to perform out there on the court really helped elevate that team. I think the stat was, they were 21-6 without Ja, but when Dylan Brooks wasn't in the lineup as well, they were only 3-2. So you look at Dylan Brooks, he's a 6'7" wing. And, also look at the Toronto Raptors. We mentioned a little bit earlier, they had two undersized guards, and you look at another elite wing in a Kawhi Leonard. To me, it kind of just screams at the issue that we need RJ to step up and be that type of elite wing. And if not RJ, we have another option in Cam, who can kind of step up into that role or has the potential to step up into that role. So that's what I'm going to be looking for at this season. Who is going to be that big bodied wing that's going to be able to elevate and rise above the rest and try to take that spot. If we do trade for Donovan Mitchell, it would then be RJ, I would assume, at that 3 position that we would want to take that next step. But if we don't make the deal and we're just going to have, Jalen, RJ, and Cam as the starters, then I'm really excited to see what Cam could do. Because if Cam can develop, and as you can see, he doesn't have to be to that Kawhi level. If he can develop and be a solid Dylan Brooks or better, then this team can still be cooking with gas out there next season and should be highly competitive game in and game out. And, the Memphis Grizzlies last season, they hung their hat on their defense. Well, we have a coach in Tom Thibodeau. We all have our gripes with Tom and some of his coaching decisions, but his claim to fame is defense. So he has the tools. I think he has the players to have us play solid defense. And the offense has been shaky here and there the last 2 seasons, but for the most part, defensively, we've been solid. So if Tibbs can get Jalen Brunson to overlook, if he can scheme a defense to kind of overlook Jalen Brunson's deficiencies, I think this team could be extremely dangerous, and we can be another team fighting not only for a play-in, but maybe to be 6th or even the 5th seed.
Absolutely. And like you said, you don't know other teams, injuries, and like you said, Cam, hey, we took creative license, folks, to say he's a starter. You made the investment. He has the potential. Do it. Put him in there. If he, after 20 some odd games, it doesn't work out, all right. And you said the same thing about Evan. Hey, he's an elite 3-point shooter. You don't want to give up shooting, but he could eat on that second team and not have to defend, elite first team players. So I think it's a win all the way around. But when you look at it this way against a team that was as successful as Memphis, there's a whole lot of hope. We're not, sometimes you think about it, but when you visually can see, it's like, wow, player for player, we have the nucleus to be a very, would definitely be a playoff team. No doubt be a playoff team.
So if we don't make a trade for Donovan Mitchell next season, who would be your X factor? Who would you think this team, our season, is held together by that player? Who would you say that would be that guy?
Randle, because will Randle let Jalen Brunson be, bring the skills and the magic that he could bring to this team? He could be a saboteur if he wants and stop that. But if Randle plays the way, like we saw a couple of years ago, plays as a team, why Memphis was so scary was because they were a team. It wasn't about individuals. So if he can get back to that, and then Cam realizing his potential, and then RJ going to the next level. But I think it starts with Randle playing within himself and within a team and not trying to take too much on his back. And I think that's what happened. He was a first option when he's not really a first option on a team. Try to take too much on his back, and maybe RJ took too much on his back. But with Jalen coming there, I think stabilizing, and RJ being a little more mature and stuff, hey, what we were talking on Cam, if Cam could stay healthy, have a full training camp, and just get really into it, listen to, he's 2 steals a game. This guy with that thing, so I think he could start on on the defensive side. I think he could be a really really good player, and then on the offensive side, I think he could blend in. And it's just about everyone everyone's putting their hands in, saying it takes the teamwork to make the dream work, and so let's go about it from a team, and let's not look at stats.
Yeah, I'm on the fence. My X factor would either be Julius Randle, like you mentioned, or RJ Barrett, because we have a lot riding on RJ this upcoming season. We have to make a decision whether or not we're going to pay him. You look at the guys that signed, you looked at the 2 guys signed before him, and you look at the guys signed after him. They have all been extended to max contracts. And with RJ, if he's able to make that next step, it completely changes, I believe, the outlook of this franchise. Same thing if we see that RJ doesn't have the goods, completely changes the outlook of this franchise moving forward past next season. So I'm looking at RJ. I'm looking to see, could he become, that now I won't say elite per se, but can he be, a
A
pseudo
borderline all
star?
star.
All star, whichever the case may be. Can he get to that level in year 4? If he can do that, then I think this team is on a very nice trajectory, especially when you look at the young talent we've been able to accumulate. But if it turns out that I need RJ to get to at least that star level, or right below a star level. If it shows that he's a little bit below, or doesn't reach up to that standard, then I think the Knicks are going to have a pretty serious conversation as to what they're going to do with RJ moving forward. Because if he's not going to be that type of player, you can't give him a big contract. And if he's not that type of player, who are you really going to showcase on this roster to try and entice other players to come play? Jalen Brunson, he's a solid player. He's well respected. But, I don't know if Jalen Brunson is going to ever elevate himself to that level of being, borderline star, as opposed to RJ, where I think RJ has shown the tools, whether it be high school, college, or here in the NBA, that he has, I think, that God-given ability. He just has to put it all together. So me, if I wasn't going to go with Julius Randle as the X factor, I would say RJ is right there along with him.
I'm with you, RJ, and I'm hoping. I hope he comes in maybe a couple of pounds lighter. I'm glad he didn't play Canadian basketball and stuff like that. I want him to come in fresh, and it's all about efficiency this year and consistency. I don't want 1 month of shooting 45% from 3 and then the next month shooting 23% from 3. I just want him to be consistent, and I think he'll take it upon himself. He's gone. I like RJ. I wish obviously he was more athletic and stuff, but this is the year. But I think the front office is smart. They signed Julius 1 year too early. They should have gave him another year to prove itself. I think it's the smart move with RJ rather than extend him already. Let's see what he has. He is a third pick, so we had the expectations of him playing at a certain level, and especially at an efficient level. And I brought up this stat last week. Besides, his issues on efficiency from shooting and finishing and foul shooting, and he doesn't know how to get skinny, getting around screens and everything else. He was last out of the 30 top usage guards or wings in the league. He was last in the league in assist percentage, and he was second to last in assist to turnover percentage. So there's so many elements of RJ's game that he needs to work on, and hopefully, they all come together. But he hasn't shown that he's anywhere near getting max money. And I'm sure he thinks he deserves max money, but put your money where your mouth is, man, and play out this year, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's glaring when you look at the other players that were able to sign deals.
Yeah, my biggest concern is, Donovan takes 22 shots a game approximately. So that would have a major impact on RJ's development. He would not get anywhere near the touches if Donovan's on this team, man. So I think that it could absolutely impact not only his development, his psyche too. I think he thought he was going to be, Broadway RJ. It was going to be his team. And then it's, they make the Jalen Brunson free agent signing. And then if Donovan comes, RJ is just, he's not the man anymore.
Yeah, so Foxy, I put a poll in chat. Just wanted to get everybody's opinion. I wanted to know who is the biggest X factor for the next season, and we only allowed to have four options, so I took four options from the starting lineup. I took Julius Randle, R.J. Brunson, and I believe the other one was Mitchell Robinson.
Yeah. Hey, folks, have a favor to ask. We have 168 people in the chat. We have 56 likes. Do us a solid. Please hit that like. We always like hitting that 100 metric. So please hit that like. If you have subscribed, thank you so much. Please tell a friend. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. You know, you see all the numbers here and the stuff. We work awful hard behind the scenes to bring you the best Knicks news and analysis and rumors and all that good stuff. So please turn on remind the bell so you don't miss out on any of the wonderful content from Keys and Sports Vibe TV. And please share the link on your favorite social media platforms. And last but not least, shout out to the best mods on the planet. The Lex, the Destroyers, the John Talentos, the Justin L's, the Citizen X's, the Canals. We appreciate all you do.
Yeah, thank you guys for tuning in and showing support. We are officially in the off season, and you guys are still showing out in droves. So we greatly appreciate all that support, and we will continue to be dropping content throughout the off season. So make sure you guys are subscribed and have the notification bells set to all.
Hey, folks, We're working in the lab. We have some good stuff coming up on future shows. So believe me, we've been working hard behind the scenes. So it's going to be some really nice stuff coming up in future shows.
Facts. So make sure you guys are tuned in. Navy Blue 76 says, yep, they're definitely going to replace Tibbs before Leon. Hey, if we have a rough season next year, they're going to replace the both of them at the same time.
Yeah, or if somehow we stumble, Johnny could be our coach within 25 games, I think, if we start off bad. Lee.
Yeah. Rascal 109 says he doesn't want Mitchell. Stay away. Knicks keep the assets for a real two-way star.
Go Rascal.
Let's see. Another one from Navy Blue 76. He says, I say RJ because we don't know if he's going to take the next step. We know Randle, unstable. That's a good point. Spider and Brunson won't work. They build in stupidity. Oh, well, stupidly, I guess. Tomato.
Hey, shout out to Andrew Collages. I hope all is well. Andrew's always cool, man.
Yep, he's saying Brunson is the X factor. We've got John Talento saying thumbs up. Hey, Adele pulled up. Appreciate you tuning in.
Yeah. Hi, Adele. Say hi to the family and especially that little Princess Avery.
Miguel P says, if after trading for Mitchell, Randle goes for Westbrook, doesn't that imply that Obi would be left out of the Mitchell deal? I mean, it all depends. You would think initially, but I think there's other options on this roster that could play the four if need be. Like I mentioned, iHeart, he can spend a little bit of time, but if we keep Cam, then you can just slide Cam right in there, and then Cam finally gets the opportunity he's been asking for to get some starting minutes. So if he's not on the chopping block and a deal for Mitch or a deal to ship Julius Randle to the Lakers, then he can be an option at the four, especially in the modern NBA where you have, a lot of the fours hanging around, the perimeter as opposed to them, being bullies in the paint.
Absolutely.
Let's see what we got going on. John says Adele needs a wrench. Okay, I got you, Adele. We'll hold you down. Definitely do agree with that. We'll hit him with a wrench.
Absolutely.
Jay LaCroix says, I can just see the Spider deal not happening. Someone will beat Rose to the punch. Good job, guys. Yeah, that's why we have to review both rosters. We can't take it as a foregone conclusion that a deal will get done. Even though people in the media are saying it looks like it's something that's going to happen within, it's not if, but when. You never know with this front office. They've been extremely conservative throughout their tenure. So I could definitely see this team moving forward with the roster as it's currently constituted.
And as weird as it sounds, this is where having an agent as your top guy works out in your favor because, he can play chicken. That's part. He's a lawyer. He knows how to hold out. He's not going to get nervous, and it's not a bargain. You have to, and I think they've shown that they put down, whether in the draft and everything, they know what they want to do. And if it doesn't hit what they do, they back off. And I think that'd be a smart move for Donovan. If it's value, do it. If not, let's build for the future in other ways.
Low envelope says Knicks need Westbrook. No, we don't need Brickbrook, but if we can offload some salary, then I'd be open to it. Still not the option I would want to go, not the route I want to go. I still want to get something for Julius Randle. He gave us all this trouble last season. We gave him a decent contract. We got to get some sort of value for him. I mean, yes, there's value in freeing up some cap space, but I mean,
but even a draft choice would go back to what we just talked about. So we'd get a draft choice as somebody who, at their best, could possibly be a role player.
Well, hey, give me the Lakers unprotected draft pick because their future looks bleak post LeBron.
Post LeBron.
Yeah.
Post LeBron. So exactly. So
like
give me a 2000. Exactly. I was about to do exactly.
That might get you a star. You never know. I know Brooklyn right now, they're over there nervous, not knowing where their picks are gonna land.
Got that right.
Let's see. Big Chino shouting your praises, Foxy. He says Foxy is the man. I think
thank
Foxy
you, Big Chino, man.
Content creator on Twitter.
Yo, man, you're awesome, Big Chino. Greatly appreciated. As I said, both Keith, myself, we put in the work, and we appreciate that you appreciate the work. So thank you and the rest of the SV Nation. We love you guys.
Facts. Anthony Barker says, how about Colin Sexton?
It's off the table
Colin
now.
Sexton is Donovan Mitchell light.
Yeah, and I think he's with us with Brunson and everything. I don't think that's an option now, Anthony. If we didn't get Brunson, I think maybe that could have possibly be an option, but not anymore.
Yeah, the Brunson deal. I don't think the Knicks knew that they were going to be able to get Donovan Mitchell this offseason when they made the Brunson signing, because I'm not sure they would have gone about it that way if they knew that Donovan Mitchell would be available for trade. Because to me, it's not the greatest pairing. I think it's something that you can still make work, but I would like to have known what they would have done if Donovan Mitchell was traded before free agency opened up.
Although I think a Burks Donovan Mitchell backcourt would have been great. I'm goofing, but I'm with you. But I still think there's parts of them that are old school. Let's get in the guy Jalen, who's going to stabilize this team. He's professional. He's going to get everybody in their spots. He's not afraid to tell people what they need to hear. Put them, look them off, do the right thing for the team.
Who but me says, would Westbrook's salary with Donovan Mitchell work? So they'd have to match the salaries. Brickbrook is making right around what, 50 mil?
47, I think, yeah.
Yeah, so you'd have to give up
Randle and probably Fournier and or Rose
and Derrick Rose. So we'll take those three in order to get a deal done. And to me, that's kind of crazy. You're going to give up all three of those guys. I mean, yes, you do free up some salary in Julius Randle and Evan Fournier, but I think Fournier still has value.
Yeah,
it's not like we should be giving Fournier away for free. We should be getting something in return.
Yeah, and as crazy as this sounds, folks, after watching Deuce in the summer league, and I'm not giving up on him, but after watching him, I'm like, you know what? Maybe we should hang on to D Rose for one last hurrah this year.
Yeah. Also, we have to ask Mark Stein how that'll work, because if we're sending all our pieces that are salary filler to the Lakers, then what are we going to send in order to match salaries to the Jazz? Because all these rookie contracts aren't going to do it. Remember, all our prize pieces are late first round picks, so their salary is very small.
I'm with you.
So, hopefully he'll follow up with another article explaining how exactly.
I got to get my slide rule out. Yeah.
You offended Navy Blue 76, Foxy. Spider and Burks.
Yeah, I was goofing Navy Blue. Would you be better with Kemba and Donovan?
Sheesh. A little envelope asks, I seen they were asking for like 6 first rounds for Donovan. You think that's valid? Because it seems like they're taking a few steps back with that. Yeah, 6 first rounds, I think, is too much. Even the 5, I think, is too much. The Knicks,
but you know what?
Go ahead.
I was just going to say the reason it's 6 or 5 is because of the craziness of Minnesota giving up 5 for Gobert.
Exactly.
That,
just about to say that.
Yeah, man, what are you doing, Minnesota? I'm going to kill those guys. They've messed up the whole trade market.
The Knicks should not be using that as a template in which to negotiate off of. Just because the Minnesota Timberwolves felt like they had, because you look at the Minnesota Timberwolves, they have Anthony Edwards, they have Cat. You can always also throw in D'Lo. So if they want to go and overpay a little bit to bring in a guy that they feel is going to be that finishing piece to quote unquote get them into championship contention, then I guess you could say it makes a little bit more sense. It's not the route I would go, but if you're in that position, it makes sense to be a little bit risky in that regard, in those regards. But for us to now use that as a template when we're not in the same position, we don't have two, top 20, top 20, top 20, top 30 players on our team, then we shouldn't be, mortgaging that as many assets in a deal for Donovan Mitchell, especially when the market hasn't shown itself that we should be out there trying to bid up against other teams. The Heat, yes, they have an offer, but I don't think they're offering the amount of picks that we can offer, and we don't have to get the 5 in order to do that. So, me personally, I don't think we should go with the 6 first. I don't think we should go with the 5. It should be anywhere from 3 to 4.
Yeah, and then out of the 3 or 4, I make them all protected.
Yeah, if they're willing to take it.
Yeah.
We got a super chat from Little Envelopes.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Appreciate that. See what else we got going on over here.
See Ace of Spade.
Where? Let me see. Salute to the both of you. I'm enjoying this. Or further down?
Further down. Nah, Obi was Leon's first pick. He don't want to give up on Obi.
Let me see.
Hi Ace, hope all as well. I think there's some truth to that. And on the other things, RJ wasn't their pick. So is there an allegiance there to RJ from the front office? So there's all this weird stuff for us to think about. Conspiracy theories, I say.
Yeah, I mean, Obi was Leon's first pick, but I think if he can bring in a guy like Donovan Mitchell, someone that's been linked to the Knicks so much, and Obi's not on the same level of a guy of a Donovan Mitchell. So me personally, if I'm looking at our front office, if I'm looking at the president of basketball operations, and he's saying he doesn't want to give up Obi for a player that's leaps and bounds better just because he was your first pick, then we should be looking to replace that guy, because this is business, not personal. You should not be attached to your draft pick. I mean, I understand, everybody's human. You probably like the guy, but at the end of the day, the NBA is a business, and if you can flip one player for another one to get a better player in return, then that's something you have to explore, regardless of the personal relationships. You might approach it a little bit different in the way you reach out to the player to let them know they're being shopped. But at the end of the day, you got to do what's best for the franchise, what's best for the organization. And if that's including Obi in a deal to get an elite scorer like a Donovan Mitchell, then you have to pick up the phone and entertain it.
Yeah, and even if Leon Rose's son won't talk to him anymore because he's the agent for Obi, you got to deal with that stuff.
Yeah, he'll be a little bit upset. He won't be getting the same endorsement deals out in Utah that he's getting here in New York.
Hey, shout out to Gene Sheriel. Thank you for the kind words. He said, great show, guys. Thank you so much. Taryn Mosley, how are you, Taryn?
Andrew says DeJounte Murray cost 3 picks and Gallinari. Yeah, so that's why I would say right around 3-4. Split the difference.
He said 2 picks. It's a lot more, and I thought than 2 picks.
Well, he corrected himself.
Okay.
Yeah, he corrected himself a little further.
Cool. Oh, oops. All right. Thanks. Didn't see that, Andrew. Just going through the database.
Anthony Barker says, what if we had won this Summer League championship last month? Well, I guess it was this month. Honestly, I wouldn't have called it the Summer League Championship. I would have called it the Knicks Showcase, because we'd have been showcasing our talent to the Utah Jazz. And that just means the value of those players just went up a little bit more. Yeah. Those guys are champions, and you should address them as such if they won.
Not that JJ Redick, he had a few words to say about Summer League rings, but if you haven't won as long as we haven't won, we'll take anything we can get, man.
He's ridiculous. JJ Redick is a player that has, achieved a lot in the NBA. A lot of these players that show up at Summer League would never play in the NBA. This was probably going to be the highest peak in their career. So if they want to celebrate with the championship ring, I think they worked hard for it. They deserve it, and they shouldn't be frowned upon for receiving a championship ring. As far as I know, it's not like they petitioned for it. The NBA said this is something that we want to do to kind of look out for you guys that come out year in and year out to ball your hearts out. Here's something to kind of commemorate the moment and the experience. So for JJ to go get off my lawn moment about it was kind of crazy.
Although I did say to a friend that if Deuce doesn't pick up his game, you better learn a foreign language.
You're gonna swap him for Rokas?
Yo, I think Rokas is already at a level of seeing the floor that Deuce will never have.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think Rokas is gonna actually find his way over here.
But that's why
That's
you and I off,
Tim's coach.
camera, we're saying to ourselves, "Yo, man, use Rokas as a trade thing." Utah. I think Utah and their demographic and everything would love a player like Andrew, like a Rokas. So use that as he was a first round pick. He was rising star of the Europe, the league this year, and he's still a kid and has a lot of skills. Shot the hell out of three. Use that as another bargaining chip in your trading. So I wouldn't have an issue giving up Rokas and the protected picks and to get a Donovan. That's not painful then.
Yeah, a lot of people have forgotten Rokas. He's somebody that could be included in the deal. I wouldn't be shocked if Utah says, "Hey, let's take a flyer on him and see how good he can be."
For sure.
Let's see. Felicia says, I don't want to give up Obi because I don't trust Randle. I'm right there with you, Felicia. But at this point, if we need to include Obi in order to get a guy like a Donovan Mitchell, I think it now resets the way that this team is built. Instead of trying to build and find pieces that fit for Julius Randle, now we can kind of adjust and find pieces that fit around Donovan Mitchell and RJ, and it'll free us up to then ship out Julius Randle eventually. So yes, it might cost us Obi in the process in order to kind of bring in a guy like a Donovan Mitchell, but in the end, hopefully it'll allow us to ship out Julius Randle and get another replacement who might be a little bit more cost effective and can find a better role beside three guys that need the ball in their hand, and a Brunson and a Donovan Mitchell and an RJ Barrett.
But with you, Felicia, we're all scary about which Randle, as he said last year, Dr. Jekyll with Mr. Hyde. We're hoping that we get the good guy.
Yeah. I mean, he's in shape, so that's
He's
a positive
shredded.
sign. Yeah. Lost a lot of weight. He's probably slimmer than he was when he was a rookie or when he first came in.
Yeah.
I was watching a highlight of him getting a nice midi swapped right in his face from Dirk, and the Julius Randle now looks smaller than the Julius Randle I saw in that clip from 6 or 7 years ago.
Hey, he's really durable. We don't talk enough about that, but we see around the league a lot of guys miss games. Randle's pretty darn durable. So we get from the neck up right, he could be a solid piece.
Hinton Murphy mentioned Rokas too. He says, "What's good, guys? Why doesn't anybody want to move Rokas?" I'm open to moving Rokas. I just don't see him having a fit here on this team. And the way he's talking, he's not going to come over here until he gets some guarantees. And Tibbs doesn't sound like a guy that's going to give you some guarantees unless he sees you perform in practice in front of him, not based off your international highlights. So with that being said, Rokas could be one of these guys that's dangled in a trade. So if you see him, if you see Joku Bidas in a trade deal, don't be surprised.
Yeah. And hi, Hinton. Hinton has such a great eye for basketball. I love talking basketball with Hinton. He's such a good guy. I hope all is well with you and your family.
Ace of Spades says the Knicks are not losing both Randle and Obi. It's one or the other. There's a situation where they end up losing both. It just might not be in the same offseason. You might trade Obi now, and the next offseason, if Randle has rebuilt his trade value, then you can get a little bit more from him than just some cap relief for Russ.
My gut tells me if they do get Donovan and Obi's in the trade, and I think there'll be another move or so that we get to shore up the forward position on this team.
Anthony Barker says, did Quentin Grimes win a championship in college at Houston? What did he get to the Final Four?
Got to the Final Four, Anthony, but did not win. They're going to be a good team again this year, Houston. although the team to watch, folks, is Arkansas. And folks, it's so weird. We talk about Cam. The Cam that's been on my mind, and I always love doing this with you guys. The Cam that's on my mind now is Cam Whitmore. He may be the wing of our dreams. He's going to be a freshman at Villanova this year. Unbelievable athleticism, unbelievable motor. He's dynamite. So do me a favor, when the college season starts this year, check out Cam Whitmore, freshman at Villanova. He's absolutely dynamite. He and a couple other players, Keontae George, just lit it up. Scary. He's going to play for Baylor this year. So I'm already working on 2023 draft stuff. So, but Cam Whitmore, remember that name. You heard it here first.
Thank you for that tidbit, Foxy. Make sure you guys put that in your journal. And whenever you guys hear that flash up across the ESPN Newswire, you know where you heard it first, here on Sports 5 TV from Foxy.
Because I always say, hopefully everybody knows me for a couple of years. Say, you know what? First time I ever heard the word, heard of Ben Mathurin or Benedict Mathurin was from Foxy. He said it a year and a half ago. So I love getting guys early, watching them.
Ace of Spade, he disagrees with you, Foxy. He says McBride was solid in summer league and made the right passes. You thought he hurt his stock.
Didn't get to the hole. And that's my whole thing, Ace, that I thought a lot of, some of his baskets came late in games, but he got lit up by Brandon Williams, an undrafted guy out of Arizona, couldn't handle the speed. So, I like McBride, but I don't think he really did a lot for his stock, like especially compared to what Grimes did or Sims. Hey, just real quick, Even Best, just wanted to say hi. He said hi to us, so just want to let him know we see him.
Salute, appreciate that. Let's see what else we have going on. Chat's moving a little faster than I can get to the comments, so if it takes a little bit of a second for me to get to it, I apologize. Let's see what else we have going on here. Scott Novak says, I'll be disappointed if Obi is in the Mitchell trade. Well, brace yourself, because if you start looking at the pieces on this team, we can't give up all our guards. So if you look at some of the young bigs on this roster, you've got Jericho Sims, who I haven't been seen linked to the Jazz, but I have seen Obi Toppin been linked. So, you give up Fournier as filler, then you're going to also give up Grimes, who the Jazz say they want. To me, it wouldn't make sense to also include Emmanuel Quickly in that deal, because now you're losing all your backcourt depth. So the next best option would be to give up a guy like Obi Toppin in the deal, and hopefully, that'll save you a pick. A first round pick. Maybe it'll allow you to even send over picks that are, do have some protection, because you're giving up a guy like Obi Toppin.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Fife says, I'm a believer in the Randle redemption arc. That's all we can do, man. At this point, hope and pray.
Yeah, I got my fingers crossed with you, Fife, man.
Yeah, because honestly, if you're a Knicks fan, you should want Julius Randle to have this redemption tour, because it could either mean one of two things. The Knicks are on fire and we're looking extremely competitive on a playoff run, or B, the second option would be it'll increase his trade value, so now we can ship him off to another team and get something of value in return. I might be saying it too much here on the channel, but you saw what the Pacers were able to get for Sabonis. We should at least be able to get a player that we can slot in, a young player that we can slot into the starting lineup and be something for us for years to come. That's what I'm looking for from Julius Randle, because I think Julius Randle has more talent than a guy like Sabonis.
No doubt.
Sabonis just has the name recognition because, he has a terrific father who's been balling for years before.
Oh, that's mean. He's not that mean. He's more than that.
He's all right. He's not better than Julius Randle.
But he's at an almost equal level statistically and a few other things. I like Julius better than him, but he had a couple of...
I'm taking Julius Randle any day of the week.
I'm with you. But he's not just a father's son, though.
I'm just ribbing him a little bit, just grabbing a little fun. Let's see.
Yeah. John Talento, Foxy, what do you think about Anthony Black? Funny that you said that. I just brought up Arkansas. He's a 6'7" guard. You talked about Giddey. is a big difference. Not only shooting the three, John, but he's also an above the rim type of guy that Josh Giddey's not. He has very good handles. I love 6'7", 6'7", but with Brunson here, I don't know if we get a choice. I think we'd probably go Keontae George before we go Anthony Black, but I love 6'7". We see that they see the passing lanes at that size at a different level when you're that big, 6'7", 6'8". So they're going to be killer this year, Arkansas.
New Yorker says Cam, Fournier, and Deuce, along with 5 picks.
I'm down
I
with
mean,
that.
I mean, I'd live with it, but I'd be disappointed. The same way Scott Novak would be disappointed if Obi was in the deal, I'd be disappointed if Cam was in the deal. Never gave Cam a fair shot here on his team. And honestly, you might be better off, at least for Cam, including him in the deal, because I think Cam should be a starting three in this league. And if you make the trade for Donovan Mitchell, you're forced to now put Cam as the backup behind RJ. And I don't know if Cam is going to be comfortable in that position. I think he views himself as something more than just a backup in this league, especially backing up a former teammate. So, also if he's a backup in this league, are we going to be able to re-sign him in the offseason if he feels like he still wasn't given a fair opportunity? So instead of risking it, it might be a better option to include Cam in a
Prudent,
deal
yeah,
for
because we couldn't do
Donovan
both
Mitchell.
RJ and Cam for deals. But also, let me ask you a question, Keith. Do you feel, behind the scenes, that maybe Cam is not doing anything hasn't done anything to endear himself to Tibbs, the coaching staff, and the front office, whether it's in training, whether it's in studying, whatever it is. But we're hearing all of this for quite some time now. Where there's smoke, there's fire. There may be something. Do you think there's something behind the scenes where, he's not doing the stuff that makes those guys say, yeah, let's give him, he's going to be part of this?
Well, maybe it's just a personality thing. Some guys are just a little bit more laid back, and you look at Tibbs, who's just screaming. He's a fiery coach. He's always got that, tough demeanor or whatever the case may be on the sideline. Maybe that's just not a good fit for that type of coach. Not saying that Cam is doing anything that he, not that's not to say that Cam is kind of skipping workouts, not putting the work in or anything like that. It's just maybe he's not doing it to the level or to not doing it in a way that Tibbs might be happy about. That's the only thing I can think of. Because remember
Me
when
too.
we traded for Cam, he said he had a phone conversation with Cam. There were some things he saw in Chicago, in Atlanta that he wanted to discuss with him, et cetera, et cetera. So I thought initially it kind of got off on the wrong foot. And you look at the guys that Cam is competing with for minutes, Grimes, he's giving, at least visually, it looks like he's giving a lot more effort out there. Not to say Cam isn't giving 100% of effort. It's just the way the way his
Style.
game is just his style. Yeah, he just moves as if it's
Some guys
just
look like
laid
that.
back,
Like,
laissez-faire, do as he please.
yeah,
So me, I can't say definitively he's not doing anything behind the scenes because I don't really have access like that. But the only thing I can say is just the way his play style, his demeanor might not be a good fit for a coach like Tibbs.
yeah. Because I'm with you. I've been stunned. Like, why do you make this investment? And since last year, not just this year, we've heard him in trade talks
Yeah, nonstop. I think he
nonstop.
got here, and then 2 weeks later they would talk about rerouting him.
Yeah, so it's like exactly. So it's like, yo, did he do a faux pas during dinner or something?
East Blue Drew says after the championship loss, everyone is too quick to throw the kids out. I would agree that there have been a sentiment of Knicks fans that have kind of turned and said, "All right, yeah, we got to get these guys out of here. They're just going to be role players. We'd rather have a guy like Donovan Mitchell." But me personally, I was for the trade before we won the championship. I view summer league as a Knicks showcase. The better they play, the maybe we get to keep an additional one or two. Well, not
Yeah,
two. Maybe you get to keep an additional one if they really get their, if they're really impressed by what, let's say, Grimes' performance in summer league. Maybe we don't have to include a Cam. Maybe we don't have to include a Deuce. Maybe we get to save a first round pick. So me, I'm I was for the trade before the championship loss. The loss definitely did, kind of give you a sour taste for the the summer league in total because I don't like to lose. I hate losing probably more than I enjoy winning. So it would have preferred us going out with a W. But even win or loss, I would have been like, we need to make this straight.
I'm with you. As Bill Belichick once said, "Show me a good loser, and I'll show you a loser."
Hmm.
So yeah. But also, East Blue Drew, hope all is well. As an analyst, you want to take a step back and say, with those kids, what's their floor and ceiling? So for Grimes, what do you think his ceiling's going to be? You think he could ever be near an All Star? Or is he going to just be a really quality, role player? The same thing with Sims. Forget about an all-star. Do you think he'd be a viable? And this, obviously would do. So it's all about floor and ceiling. Looking at those guys when you're making your analysis of their future. So I don't know about throwing out as just being realistic. There's a reason why one was picked 25th, another one was picked 36th, another one was picked 58th.
Yeah, exactly. You got good value for them when you drafted them, and if you're able to flip them into a top 20 player like a Donovan Mitchell, then that's something you have to pursue. At
Yeah.
least be open to it. Not saying you should say you can take whatever you want, but let's sit down. Let's see if we can find a deal that makes sense for both parties involved. And giving up a guy, giving up some role players, because as of right now, I think most people would say that the ceiling for most of these guys are solid role players. And that's not a slight or to be disrespectful or anything like that. I would say what 90% of the NBA is role players.
Yeah, but it gets back to what we did earlier in the show, East Blue Drew. That again, we'd like to, that their chances is 90%. I just wanted to give a shout out to Barack Khan Koch. He was the data analyst that we shared the information about. So Burak Khan Koch, thank you so much for all the work you did to break down what were the chances by draft pick of becoming an all-star. And as Keith just said, East Blue Drew, it's over 90% chance that those kids will never be an all-star. So you got to go with the numbers.
East Blue Drew says Jeffries and Hunt should have got the two-way. I think Hunt is on a two-way, and I like Jeffries. Jeffries was able to knock down the three. He showed some toughness out there defensively. Him and what was his name, Potter. Those were my two standouts for guys that weren't or aren't most likely going to make the team.
Yeah. Jeffrey's a little old. He's a good shooter, but he's not much of an athlete. Meaning, he's an athlete. He won a dunk championship and stuff like that, but he was just filler material. Unfortunately, he's Blue Drew, but he can shoot. As we saw, he's a nice stroke.
John Talento says Cam has to stay healthy if he wants to get paid.
Bird.
That's true. This is a pretty interesting question from Jay Dragon. Thank you for posting it to the chat. It says, if it came down to trading either Grimes or IQ, I keep IQ. Foxy, what are you doing?
I'm with Jay Dragon. I'm keeping IQ over Grimes. I think that he's gotten better every year. I think he'll be a coach in 15 years, folks. In this, that he looks at, he's a student of the game. He's gotten better. He has a huge wingspan. People don't realize that IQ has a bigger wingspan than Grimes. So from shooting, from everything, that I would also keep IQ.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I keep IQ as well. I like what IQ can do. The fact that IQ has, I think, proven he can play some minutes at the one. He can knock down the three. You mentioned his wingspan. You see what he can do rebounding wise, especially towards the end of last year when we got past trying to, put square pegs into circular holes and try to play these veterans all these abundance of minutes. We were able to get quick out there. We saw what he can do when he was given in excess of 22 to 25 minutes per game. And, Grimes, that's not to take any away from him, but I think he's still somewhat limited offensively when you compare what he can do as opposed to what Quickly can do. Quickly, I think, is still better off the dribble. I think Quickly, it's a little bit better finishing. He has that go-to with the floater that he can knock down. Better free throw shooter.
Not even close on the free throw shooting.
Yeah, not even close. So I would pick Quickly if I had to pick between those two. But it seems like the Jazz, they're going with Grimes.
Yeah, I also think there's a leadership part of IQ. I keep bringing up, but I just adored last year with the iPad on the bench with the young kids, him taking the leadership as being the second year guy with the rooks saying, "Hey man, this is your assignment. Go over here." That's leadership to me. Not that Grimes is not a leader, but it seems like he's a little more vocal of a dude.
Mhm. Also, I closed the poll from previously, from earlier. It says who was the biggest X factor for the Knicks this season? 44% said RJ, 33% said Randall, 17% said Brunson, and then 3% said Mitchell Robinson. And we got a ton of votes, 140 votes. That might be a high for the channel. So thank you guys for participating.
That's
Greatly
really,
appreciate it.
really, really, really interesting that RJ over the not knowing who we're going to get with Randall this year. So that's really good data, folks.
Yeah,
That's a
well, I
nice
mean,
that's a nice sample size.
yeah, 400, yeah, 140. I mean, you look at Knicks fans, they view RJ as someone that they've just been waiting to take that next step. And if he's able to do that, this team is, I think, I won't go. I'm gonna get a little too excited to say top four, but they're knocking on the door if RJ is showing or has shown that he can be an elite player in this league. Not even elite. Let's just go say, pseudo star, just on the cusp of stardom. If he's able to do that with a guy paired with if Mitchell is able to come over, you pair him with Mitch. Now you're cooking with gas. You have two, star level players that you can put out there and potentially build around. And you would still have some pieces. I don't think he's going to cost everybody in order to get Donovan Mitchell to come over.
And I love, just the person he is, RJ, when you're talking about also culture with having a young team. He's a class act, RJ.
Yeah. So I'm putting the same poll that Jay Dragon asked us. If it came down, if it came down to it, who would you trade, basically? So would you trade quickly? Oh, if it can't, who would you keep? I think that's a better one, right, Foxy?
Yep.
Quickly or Grimes? Let's see what the chat says. Well, I almost called him Grinds with an N.
No, that's in Russia.
All right.
No, that's Griner.
That's terrible, Foxy. Oh man. Here we go. All right. So I put the poll in chat. Let's see what the people have to say. Jonathan Linton says Cam has to stay healthy if he wants to get paid. True. Has dealt with injuries throughout his career. The last one was a freak one, though. The one where he fell and busted up his shoulder.
Yeah, that was
Can't hold
freaky.
that one against him. Let's see. AI says Randall will bounce back. RJ will be RJ, which is a middle of a road player. Knicks make the playoffs even without Mitchell, but Mitchell will have them in position for the 4th or 5th position in the East.
Hey, folks, as we've seen in playoffs, if we get to the playoffs and we have Mitchell, some guys just get crazy in series. If he gets hot in a series, anything could happen. And Mitchell, we saw, like I said, in the bubble a couple of years ago against Murray, it was like 50 point. Anything could happen in series, man. So Mitchell's a scary type of. Nobody would want to go against a Mitchell if he gets hot.
Yeah. Moneybag 97 says we're overvaluing Cam. He couldn't break starting lineup in Atlanta and stays hurt. And pretty much summed up what I was trying to say. Cam low motor.
Yep.
New Yorker says Quick can play 2 spots, more valuable than Grimes. Even though Grimes was making the case to play a little bit of point guard, not something I would do specifically, but he was running the show at times out there in Summer League.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. East Blue Juice says, what if Spider gets here and we have the same problem with that Tibbs had with Kimba? But I think when you look at Mitch, he's shown the ability to be a solid defender. He has the tools to be a decent enough defender. With Kimba, it was more so his size and also his health, him having a bad knee that really hurt him on the defensive end. So with a guy like Mitchell Robinson, I'm about to call him Mitchell Robinson. With a guy like Donovan Mitchell, you look at him, he has the wingspan, he has the athleticism to be a solid defender. He just has to recommit himself to playing defense when he comes here. He just has to be re-engaged. And I think with Brunson, his issues defensively are his physical size. He has shorter arms, a shorter player, but he gives his all on defense. He hustles, and even though he might get blown by initially at the point of attack, when you're hustling like that and you're a smart, high IQ player, at least your rotations will be on point. So I won't have too many concerns when it comes to those two as a backcourt pairing. And like I said earlier in the show, I think they'll definitely be an upgrade over Kimba and Evan Fournier. And you look at the team last season, and for the most part, we were still in playoff contention. It's not like, we were a month away from the season and felt like we had no shot at the playoffs. So if you just swap out those two for Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Brunson, I think this team is much better.
I don't see it as the same problem at all. In fact, one of the things that Donovan that we haven't talked about, he could get to the hole. So getting to the hole or kicking it out for somebody for a spot up, catch and shoot, incredible. So now we would have two guys, both Jalen and Donovan. Something Kemba couldn't do anymore. We looked at the shot chart this past season, EBD, and he was just chucking him up from three, Kemba, because of that knee, like Keith was saying.
We got a super chat from Fife. He says, "Can we still get Dame?" Also, I got a Kimba jersey for sale. Any take? I think Dame is enjoying himself in Portland.
And I respect what he did, man. Yeah, that he wants to be there for good.
He was actually turning up with his teammate Anthony Simons when the Portland Trailblazers won Summer League. I think one of the players FaceTimed him, and he was out on some island turned up with Anthony.
Yep. But I guess, he'll have to suffer making like a little over $60 million for 2 years. I think it was 2 year, 120 something million. Are we in crazy times, Keith, or what?
Yeah, man. I'm about to go see if I can get me a deal. Shooting.
Harden saying, "Nah, I'll give you a $15 million discount." What? Yeah.
And we're about to hit a recession too. God bless him.
Yeah, I don't think these dudes are feeling that.
Yeah. Well, not yet, at least. It's normally us that feels it first before it trickles up. Let's see. Donovan Mitchell surprisingly owns the Summer League steals record of 7.
Then that would be equal with Farron Hunt. He had 7. Right, yeah. He had 7 in the first game. He had 10 in the first 2.
Mm-hmm. Jay Dragon says Grimes has yet to prove anything. How can anyone say he is better than IQ? I think it's that defense, the fact that he's a dog out there defensively. Not to take away from Quick, but you just see the energy and the effort out there when he hits the court defensively, and that street stroke. Yep. With Quick, there's a little bit of a awkwardness to his game at times, especially when he's looking to draw the foul and things like that. So maybe you can look at Grimes and you just a little bit more like the aesthetics of his game, maybe.
Yeah. It's funny though, he had the numbers stats wise, over 20 points a game, Grimes, but his shooting mechanics looked a little off to me during the Summer League versus last year from a repetitive, release point and stuff like that, that he was rushing a touch.
New Yorker says Hunt disappeared after those 7 steals. He's definitely a work in progress.
Yeah, but like I said, Keith would ever laugh like, look at that shooting form. That dude is like his body was perpendicular to the, it's like,
and then he's moving towards his left while he's putting up that shot. I was standing right behind him when he put up that. I think it was in the first quarter of Game 3, the game we lost. No, I'm lying. I think it was the game. It was the second game in the Cox Pavilion.
But it drives me crazy. How do you go to SMU? Not necessarily, but they have top-notch trainers. Have a year in the G League last year with the Knicks. So with development, how don't you work on those mechanics, man? Because you're basically saying with those mechanics, I'm going to be a defensive specialist. I'll be a killer in transition, but don't rely on me to hit a jumper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, New Yorker says Grimes was rushing his shot. That's what he thinks.
New Yorker, I felt the same way. My friend.
Yeah, Anthony Barker says, can we go get Anthony Edwards in our dreams, man?
Yeah.
There's no way the Timberwolves will give it up, Anthony Edwards. They done gave up their future, at least when it comes to the draft. So they're going to hold on to that guy forever.
Basically, you just nailed it. I think they gave up their future saying, I think Edwards is going to take the next level, and us having that defensive, cat from the 3. And, Gobert and being the flagship of our defense, that this will take us to the next level. So they're betting the farm that Anthony Edwards is going to go to the next level. And when you have that type of athleticism, his shooting and everything, although his IQ bothers me, what keeps coming in my head, if you watch the last possession of the Minnesota Memphis game where John Morant hit the winning basket. Nothing's wrong with Ja hitting the winning basket because he's an elite player, but he took the stupidest defensive position. Anthony Edwards, that was like, what the hell were you thinking, man? So I don't know what he was thinking, but hopefully he's watching a lot of film and will never do that again. No less in a key playoff game, but it was really it was like low IQ play.
Let's see what else we got going on. East Blue Drew says Montero did not show me much to be impressed, but he's young, so I understand. Yeah, he had some moments. He had some nice passes. He had a real nice in and out that he hit. I forgot who it was in the third game. So it was against the Trailblazers, but then he ended up blowing the left-handed layup. That was a nice move. But other than that, it was just spurts here and there. He really didn't put too many strong performances together out there.
Yeah. EBD, I'm with you, man. I didn't understand why we would, sign a kid like that to a summer league, that it's really a non-tips type of player, when we could have signed an Alondis Williams who went undrafted and the Nets signed him, or a different point guard that's, big, 6'4", can see the floor. Alondis Williams, I thought, was the best passer in the draft. He just has some other elements, but if he can't shoot, Montero can't shoot either. So I would have taken the 6'4" guy who can see the floor rather than the guy like Montero.
Yeah, Justin L, like, he agreed with you with the Wiggins pursuit next offseason. He says we can get Wiggins in free agency after this season, or in a side-in trade if Kuminga and Moody are doing their thing in Golden State.
We're Justin, exactly, man. They're all and they got a couple of extra kids this year. They got Ryan Rollins too in the draft. So yeah, if Wiggins, that would change everything for this team, man. And again, he's CAA, so there's a whole lot of things there.
That connection.
Hey, a good friend of mine just pulled up in the chat. Quiet Money. I haven't seen him in a while.
Salute.
Quiet Money, man. I miss you, my friend. Hope all is well with you and your family.
Appreciate you tuning in. Also, we got a chat from James Purefoy Jr. He says Randle dropped weight. What's that do for his game? Hopefully, it makes him quicker, a little bit more athletic out there. Some people say they view him maybe potentially getting some minutes at the 3, but I'm not sure if that'll be the route that they go. But him dropping the weight, hopefully, it gets him a little bit quicker out there, and he's a little bit leaner, so hopefully, he still has the strength. Cut down fat and then just cut down on muscle mass.
Hi, James. Hope all is well with you and your family. Like you said, he's dropped weight, but I think he's around 235. That's still about 20 pounds heavier than most Lightning wings. So he's going to be quick at the 4, and he could probably do some 3s, but it'd be real tough with him, even shredded, to cover elite wings in this league.
Let's answer a few more, and then we'll wrap it up. Let's see. Chris the Dada says, I would rather have Montero over Keels. Montero did show me more than Keels.
Yeah, I'd like somebody from high school better than Keels. I am not a Keels liker at all, man.
Not in the Keels hive.
I was not pre-draft, and when they selected him, and like I said, Jabari Walker, who I'm proud, he balled out. Probably be a second team or third team. He played fantastic. There were other guys that for our needs, 6'8", 7+ wingspan, that he could hit the 3, can play the 3 to 4. This tenacious son of Samaki Walker. So he's from he knows the game. He's professional. He knows what it's going to take to go to the next level. And you take Trevor freaking Keels. Come on. And you saw he has no lift, this guy. He got blocked. How many shots did he get blocked? He has absolutely no explosion. And if he takes off 15 pounds, that ain't going to help, folks.
We've got Fife asking a question. He says, was Boston a one and done, or are they coming back this year? I don't know if they'll make it back to the finals, but they'll definitely be one of those teams in either the
Brogdon.
Or, oh, yeah, you're right. They did have Brogdon.
Yo.
I don't know. I still can't book them in the finals. It's a lot
Well,
of things that
Brogdon will
can.
be good for the 14 games he plays before he gets injured, though.
You got that. You've got the Bucks. They're going to be healthy again. Chris Middleton will be available, so there'll be a roadblock. You've got the 76ers. What are they going to well, not what are they going to do? They already made their move, but they've got PJ Tucker. They've added some pieces. The Nets probably don't. I don't know what you can't really assess the Nets because you don't know how they're going to look
Word.
next season. And even if they bring back the same guys, are they going to be happy enough to have enough cohesion to make a run and make a play to the finals? I'm not sure.
East Blue Drew says Keel's got to hit the weight room. No, he's got to hit the lose weight room.
We got Navy Blue 76. It says, I hope Randle balls out, but his mental capacity is what worries me.
Exactly.
That worries us all.
Yeah. And you're worried if he takes pills for that, then he can't play. The good news is he's not going crazy. The bad news is he has no more energy to play basketball.
Mm-hmm. We got Raj Trivedi. He says, out of the 6 young guys, RJ, Obi, Quick, Reddish, Grimes, McBride, can we get Donovan and keep 2 young guys? If Leon still has 3 young guys after this trade, he's the best exec we've ever had. Facts, because we still have some depth, and it allows him to tinker a little bit more, trying to bring in some other pieces to build around, RJ and Donovan Mitchell once we make that deal. But out of the 6 young guys, I think we can make the deal. One of the rumored deals was Grimes and Obi as the 2 young guys. And then I don't really care who the salary filler is, whether it's Evan Fournier or Derrick Rose. Either or works for me. If we can make that the focus of the package and just add some picks, then, you got to do that trade right now.
Yeah. Hey, just real quick, folks. We're only 30 some odd subscribers away from hitting the 6,000 milestone. Could you do us a solid? If you have subscribed, thank you so much. Please tell your friends. If you haven't, please subscribe. We really, really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Yep, thank you guys for tuning in. We had a phenomenal stream. This was only supposed to be an hour stream, but we ended up chopping it up with you guys having some fun. So it ended up being almost a 2-hour stream. So, thank you guys for tuning in. Also, Foxy, thank you for staying the extended amount of time to, get everything out and chop it up with everybody tuned in.
My pleasure. And like I said, folks, we've been working behind the scenes in the lab. We have a lot of great shows coming your way. So please tune in, and we guarantee we're going to be thought-provoking and make you smile and make you think.
Oh, before I go, I have to close the poll. It's a good thing I remembered. So the poll was, if it came down to it, who would you keep? So we have 57% voted quickly, and we have 43% voting Grimes. So somewhat divided.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't come to a consensus, which is understandable. Everybody can't agree. But thank you guys for letting us know what you thought. We greatly appreciate it. We don't have a date set for the next stream, but we are working on the next show for you guys, like Foxy said. And we'll put it out, and you guys can pull up and chop it up with us. And you know how these streams go. We appreciate all the support. This is now the off season, so things are a little bit slow, so there won't be as much news to discuss and report. But we will also, analyze this team and find some interesting topics for us to discuss and really break down. So thank you guys for holding us down the entire season, and we're looking for more fun over in the off season. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. Once again, I'm Keith, host of Sports Vibes TV, joined by our NBA analyst, Stephen Fox. We thank you guys for tuning in, and we're out.